The town of Copperdale is a most beautiful and picturesque place, built right on the shores of Lake Lasuli, nestled in the mountains. It is a place where families can raise their children in peace and solitude, quite safe from the big city and the inevitable dangers of the world around them. Lake Lasuli is a popular location for fishing, and they hold a big fishing tournament here each year that brings people in from far and wide. In fact, the last person to win the tournament had traveled all the way from the beaches of Salani. What a day that had been! He even caught a record-breaker rainbow fish and surprised us all. The lake also has played an important role in the town's history since it helped to sustain the early settlers, providing them with food and water. The first settlers had traveled across the Great Plains from a place long forgotten and only known to us as Old Town. They wanted to discover new frontiers and make a new home in a place called Newcrest, which was over the great snowy mountains of Mount Commeriby. It was said to be a wonderful and sustainable place, unsettled with great lakes and empty lush green lots for as far as the eye could see. When the weary travelers first reached the edge of Lake Lasuli, they paused to rest and spent some time there gathering supplies such as food and fresh water. They took their time as they were in no rush to get back on the trail as they still had to cross the mountains to get to Newcrest. Jasper Prescott was the leader of the group, guiding them along the trail which he hoped would lead them to more prosperous and even longer lifespan if the settings were done just right. And while the dream of Newcrest was an exciting prospect, he couldn't help but be entranced by the beauty of Lake Lasuli. He couldn't help but want to linger there and enjoying the peaceful existence that the lake offered them as a temporary solace to a hard and unforgiving life on the trail. Now, though you may not have been able to tell that from the looks alone, Jasper took great pride in being an educated man. He was an avid reader and a curious explorer, as he was always interested in new opportunities to learn and grow. He was a man who also lived by his wits, and he had worked hard to secure a future for himself. He hoped to create a lasting legacy that went far beyond the scope of 10 sim generations. He wanted the Prescott name to be looked on with respect and authority. It was that legacy that he was contemplating when he first noticed a sparkle seeming to wink at him from the shores of the cove. As Jasper waded into the water by the cove's shore, he couldn't believe what he saw, gemstones as far as the eye could see. And his excitement was only goaded further as he reached into the water to extract one of the sparkling gems. It was none other than a rare, much sought-after plumbite crystal, and to this day that region is still known as Plumbite Cove. His excitement turned out to be short-lived. Unfortunately, it was also at this time that the settlers made another discovery. Evidence was found that the land had not long ago been inhabited by creatures who were only known to the travelers as legends of sorts. There were stories of great wolves who could walk on 2 legs, and witches and mirrors, and even the undead bloodsuckers, things that the mere mention of while staring at their own reflection could cause a sim to die on the spot. In spite of these things, though, Jasper was willing to brave the legends. The discovery of the crystals was just too good to pass up. As an educated man, Jasper wouldn't be swayed by such things. He knew a good opportunity when he saw it, and he was able to use his intellect to convince some of the pioneers to stay behind and mine the mountain with him. Fear can be more powerful than knowledge for some, and not everyone was willing to risk the dangers of the legends. A new leader was elected for the caravan, and those who wanted to continue on to the green plains of Newcrest began to pack camp. Jasper was disappointed and saddened by this decision, but he wished his friends well. He sketched out a map and did all he could to convey the proper trail to the newly elected leader. Jasper, and those that stayed behind, watched as George Donner led the remaining members of the caravan out of the area and into the mountains where the snow was already starting to fall. He couldn't help the sinking feeling that he had to the fate of the caravan. Jasper wasn't wrong. No one from the Donner party was ever heard from again. Jasper never really recovered from the loss of the remaining caravan in the snowy mountains. He always felt in some way responsible for the loss of so many lives. Would they still be alive if he hadn't stayed behind to mine? Though the guilt weighed heavily on Jasper's mind, he didn't let that affect his responsibility to the Sims who stayed behind with him. They profited greatly from the mining operations that Jasper started and quickly grew into a settlement which prospered richly, the town growing more and more each year. As far as the urban legends go, there have only been a handful of deaths, most of those deaths being teens who lived too fast. As a man of knowledge, Jasper knew the value of a good education and established the funding of the original gem mines to build and maintain a school of higher learning. Eventually, when the mines stopped producing gems, that industry slowly disappeared from the area. You can still see some remnants of the mining days still around town, the old machinery now being more decoration than functional. As such, the town is widely known for its great institutions of academia. To this day, the Prescott name remains well known throughout the area, and in gratitude for his service to the community, the town square was built in honor of Jasper Prescott. You can still visit the statue which was erected of the earliest settler. The Prescott name has been quite the thing to live up to, and over the years they have continued to be upstanding members of the local society. The Prescott family home is a prime example of this over on Golden Peak, and it serves as a reminder of what a good education can allow you to make of yourself if you work hard with your life. Many of the Prescotts that came after would follow in Jasper's footsteps of higher education and community service. Even now, the current principal of Copperdale High School, Mrs. May Prescott. But whatever happened to Jasper, you may be wondering? In his elderly years, Jasper found that his heart still weighed heavily on his soul. He never fully came to terms with the deaths of the caravan members who perished in the mountains with George Donner. It was Jasper who had found the evidence of their demise when he went in search of the missing travelers. He was never quite the same after that, and could not seem to forgive himself for his parts in their deaths. To this very day, it is said, he could not even rest easy in his own death. Apparently, a very small part of him remained behind, and can sometimes be seen by the old Boone's Bluff Mystery House. He won't hear you or interact with you if you see him. He only hears the wind whispering of the tragedy of his own past.
High school. If you're like me, you're just ready to get through it. Orientation isn't a big deal, unless your mom's the principal. Ugh. But at least you get to choose a locker and make it your own. Then you have to get through classes, exams, more classes. And then there's lunch, aka Drama Central. Really, I just try to stay busy while I wait to graduate. Without getting detention. Or even worse, expelled. I mean, just think of the irony. The principal's daughter, expelled. Anyway, yeah, I can't wait to graduate. Even if I do secretly love it here.